Hi friends. If you click to check out what my picks are for the Beautylish gift card event 2020, then please keep on watching. Hi, I'm Alicia. If it's your first time here, thank you so much for clicking on my video. And if you are returning, well, thank you for visiting me again. Kinkysweat stands for my kinky hair and sweat life. I'm a fitness professional who loves things all movement and beauty. If you want to check out what I do in between the makeups, you can head over to my Instagram. A huge thank you to Beautylish for working with me again this year. This is not a sponsored video. It is simply a partnership where they're like, Alicia, you want to give us a list of things you want to talk about for a gift card event? I'm like, yes, please. I picked out a couple of items, not only that I was interested in, but I thought would make nice gifts, you know? If you haven't participated in the Beautylish gift card event, it's one of their biggest events of the year where every time you spend $100, you get $20 back. After you have made your order, Beautylish will then issue you a digital gift card with that amount depending on how much you spend. And people usually use this time during the year, they save up for it if they want to make that big purchase, the really expensive Chikuhodo or Sonyaji or Wayne Goss brushes, the more expensive makeup that you might have been eyeing. And I wanted to take this video to show you what I picked up and thought really nice things to consider. And this event runs from October 22nd all the way through October 25th. Again, Beautylish comped these items, so a huge thank you to them. And let's get started with the first, or maybe 3 items I should say. I don't know if you remember, but I think last year, last year feels like forever ago, I finally bought my first Chikuhodo Takumi brush. I was very much interested in this line, but a couple of months back, I saw they released their new T11 foundation brush. Not only that foundation brush, they've released their new T12 eyeshadow brush, which is like a very small shader type of smudger brush in one. And then I had to, because I've been eyeing this brush for a very long time, the T1 powder brush. Here are some close-ups of how the brushes look before I wash them. You can see that there's, you know, they look snug from being in the plastic wrap. And here are some close-ups post-wash. You see how much the powder brush blossomed and the foundation brush blossomed a little bit as well. There really was no changes to the eyeshadow brush, so I just skipped that shot altogether. Let's talk about this foundation brush, fam. If you don't know, the Takumi series is made with Chikuhodo goat hair. It is very soft, but because of that, it will absorb product if you decide to use it with a cream or liquid. Here I applied my little foundation concoction with the T11, and I've been using this brush the whole freaking time ever since I received it in the mail. First of all, the paddle-like construction just makes it feel like you're painting on your foundation. It works it beautifully into the skin, and it does not feel stabby or scratchy on the skin whatsoever. And the finish left behind is just beautifully sublime. The foundation works itself into the skin and the brush does the work for you. And I think it's big enough to not spend a million years on your face blending out your foundation, but still small enough to get around the nose, to get around the mouth. And you could also use this brush if you wanted to apply a cream contour or use your concealer a deeper shade for your bronzer. It's so multitasking, and I even used it to apply my concealer here because if you were in a jam and this was the only brush that you have, you could get away with using it under the eyes. And again, because it is so soft, it doesn't feel stabby under the eyes, not scratchy, it doesn't irritate the under eye area. If you are looking at another brush, I have the T6. I believe I got this, whether again, last year or the year before. I used this brush to apply my concealer, and I have a demo of that here. And because it is made of undyed goat hair like the foundation brush, I can successfully use this with a cream or liquid product. And sometimes I just love this size brush just to lightly paint a very reasonable amount of concealer. And you could also use this brush to paint on your contour if you like to go in with the lines first. This is also great to buff on the sides of your nose if you like to bring your cream contour there. I'm just blown away by the T11. I was so happy with it. The moment I used it for the first time, I was like, this is the one. This is the one. And I don't know if you remember, last year I picked up the Chikuhodo GSN 02. This is like the pom-pom brush that I also use for foundation as well. I have to say, I much prefer the T11 because I could place it here on the face like so, not directly on. I also just feel this is softer than this one. Now I still love my 02, but this cannot get over it. And for the T1, fam, the T1. I wanted to present the scenario where if I didn't have an under eye brush, if I didn't have my Wayne or Sonia brushes with me or any other Chikuhodo brush, I will put loose powder on the T1 and I would just lightly dab under my eyes and then place the loose powder on the rest of my face. You could press it on, you could whip it on, and this brush has an oval ferrule. The bristles are very long. They come to a dome shape. So I wanted to experiment and see how I felt with how this applied bronzer. Here I applied the Natasha Denona Tan Bronze and Glow from her palette. I used the bronzing powder from there, and I'm not one to gravitate towards like a wispy brush like this. I feel maybe this is better if you were to use a loose powder for your bronzer. Like some people like to use a deeper loose powder for that application, for that task. I still have to play with it, but for buffing and loose powder application, flawless. For instance, I would use the T4. This is a dome brush. It has a lot more bristle. It's just a little more tightly packed, so it's gonna pick up a little more color. And if you're like, Alicia, what about the Z9? The Z9 I love for bronzer. Because you know what it is? I don't know what it is, fam. You just get the bronzer right there and it just nudges so beautifully in the hollows of the cheek. This you have to be a little more careful because it's a bigger brush, right? It's a bigger brush, it has a lot more fluff. I think, again, this is just more suitable for me, in my opinion, the loose powder application. However, if you're one to just like that wash of bronzer, this brush is gonna do it because it's just gonna beautifully buff that powder into the skin in a way that just adds dimension and at, you know, that effortless 3. That's how it's gonna be. I'll get to the small shadow brush when we go into the palette that I chose for this haul, so we'll see that in a minute, but very happy with the T11. If you were looking at that brush, because I know there's the Chikuhodo one, the Fupa. I haven't tried that one yet, but I could say from using this brush non-stop, I haven't used anything else to apply my foundation thus far. And of course, I'll go back and forth with the several foundation brushes that I have. This one just nailed it for me. It is so beautifully constructed. Again, Chikuhodo brushes are made in Japan. They are handmade, hand bundled. They don't rely on machines to make them. The ends remain intact. They're not laser cut, which lends that soft feel on the skin. It is just, it's beautiful. What can I say? I wanted to show this foundation brush so bad that I forgot about my like little skincare pick. Now, Bioderma is sold all over the place. This is not exclusively sold at Beautylish. Beautylish happens to sell it, but because they offered to work with me in this haul, I decided to choose the Sensibio Light Cream. Now, fun fact, I had finished my old Sensibio. I completely finished it and I wanted to replenish this because I think this is one of the most beautifully formulated creams for the face. Although it is a soothing cream, it has the word cream in it, by no means is it heavy. And the Sensibio Light label indicates just that. It is fragrance free, it is not greasy, it just sinks beautifully into the skin without you looking overly shiny. This is the texture. It is like a cloud. It is so beautifully formulated. And I also like the Good Molecules Priming Moisturizer. That's a great pick as well. And I actually on my second bottle. I like to have 3 moisturizers in my rotation because, for instance, this is the one I take to Bay's house, okay? And the Good Molecule stays here and, you know, I swap in and out. This is just so easy to take along for the ride. And it's simple, right? It's formulated for sensitive skin especially. So when you're out and about and you can't play with new makeup, new skincare, you just cannot have any irritation, sensitivity issues. And again, this is formulated for sensitive skin that could be aggravated easily, that could get rashes, that could get tight and dry. Definitely if you undergo any skin barrier issues, any compromised skin barrier issues. So this is a favorite. And then, you know, I wanted to pick up another one because I happily use this, especially if you layer your sunscreen, which you all should be wearing if you're out and about. Okay, if you need a lighter moisturizer that's going to sit well under your sunscreen, that's not going to make it look cakey or textured, especially when you're applying makeup on top of your sunscreen, this is a perfect one to choose because again, it's just so lightweight, but the skin is left plush. It feels moisturized and hydrated and plump. It has that bounce and elasticity, but again, without the greasiness, without the heaviness. This is Again, I finished it and I requested another one because this has to be in my wheelhouse of moisturizers, most definitely. And you're like, Lisa, well, what do you bring along to Bay's house? I wanted to then, before we get into the makeup, I wanted to show you these unit to-go bags. This is not the official name. Hold on, let me get the official name. Unit PVC bag. I love me a simple, clear, zip around bag. This is the small. Look at all this stuff I got in here. Look, I got my Billy Razors, hey! Got my floss, got my Glide floss. Got some Uncle Funky's Daughter. Well, this is an Uncle Funky's Daughter jar with some melanin hair care in it. You know about that repurposed life. And I have my water bottle here. I have my Crave sunscreen. So I can fit a lot. And this is a good size for like overnight. You're like, really? That's like a good for a week. I know. I'm too much. But if you're conservative with how much you bring along, I think this is a great size. The bigger size is phenomenal for, let's say you needed to bring your full size hair products. This could fit a lot. I mean, this goes in here, you know what I'm saying? And if you wanted, you could pack along, maybe you have a brush roll, you could put your brush roll in here, you could put your makeup in here, you could even, hold on, if you wanted to bring along your big Bioderma, fits perfectly in here. Look at that. And I believe I could fit my melanin hair care in here as well as my oil. It does take up a lot more space because they're bigger bottles, so you have to experiment with what you take along and how it fits, you know, like, you know, good old game of Tetris. But I like that it's clear so that when you're packing, you can see, oh, what am I missing? You know, I gotta figure it out. It's very easy to do so. I love those bags. They make life easier. Now let's get into the cheeks, right? We applied our foundation with our beautiful Tia Lemon brush from Chikuhodo, Takumi series. Next product I picked up is the Surratt Artistique blush. These are sold individually and you get the compact separately. The compact has a mirror and it looks like this, so you could customize your palette. This is the trio. You could also just get the duo, which it will be either 2 blushes, or if you decide to get 2 eyeshadow singles, you can have the 2 eyeshadow singles and 1 blush single. The shades I chose were Cantaloupe, Halo, and Chaleur. The limitations are definitely there in the contour and the bronzer. However, the blushes have a lot more variety and have a lot more powwow and depth. Cantaloupe for me, I think, is so beautifully saturated and hued. It's just like this soft tangerine golden color, and here I apply the bronzer shade, which even for me, I have to make sure I use a brush on the thicker side so I could pick up enough product, and ideally I would apply this on unset foundation so I could get the most saturation from the product. The powders themselves, however, are beautifully silky smooth, and I think Surratt also is very much inspired by Eastern philosophy and makeup. That soft look, like not overly made up, barely there, but still has some impact, and that's definitely what I achieved with these 3 blushes. Halo, this highlighter, not wham bam in your face, is very soft, very subdued. It invokes that glow from within look without appearing like it's there physically as a powder. It sinks into your skin, and again, these powders are just incredibly smooth, and the glow left behind is outrageously beautiful. And I chose this trio because I thought these shades worked really well with each other. And sure, maybe this curation leans a little more spring summer, but you know, this tangerine color, even if I apply it just on its own without the bronzer or highlighter, it lends a beautiful flush to the cheeks, and it delivers that flushed look without appearing artificial, and it's still so soft. You can layer to your heart's content without the powders looking cakey or artificially layered on the skin. So if I wanted more of the bronzer, let's say, you know, we use our Sui Smooth Buffer, which I will also recommend you take a look at. This is designed to pick up a little more product than maybe your typical powder brush, cheek brush, and just stamp it on. But look how it just melts. I don't even have to swirl and twirl. Do you see? Do you see? Today I have the Surratt Dewdrop with a little bit of the Hourglass Vanish Liquid. So the Vanish Liquid gives me a little bit of coverage because the Surratt Dewdrop is all about that skin-like experience. If you want coverage though, it's not going to give you a lot. And that's what it says, it's like light to medium coverage. That's all you're gonna get. If you want more, you could rely on the Fluidity Dewdrop experience, combine it with a little more creamy coverage from, let's say, the Hourglass, for example. And that alchemy is just, you know, complexion perfection, baby. And these powders, again, stamp it on. I could even take the blush with this brush. And look, you get a little more, but it's not going to look powdery. It just, look at that sink. God, these are beautiful. And there's like a hot pink shade and like a hot coral shade. So there are a lot of options in the blush lineup. I would really like to see Surratt do deeper contour and bronzer shades because this powder formula is just unlike anything I've ever tried, really. And I tried a lot of cheek products. There's something special about this one, fam. It's just so beautifully smooth. And Halo, like Halo, it's so, look how yellow, I look so yellow in this viewfinder right now. But again, it just gives that glow without looking layered or cakey or powdery on the skin. And I think ideal for those who have extremely dry skin, stays far away from any type of powder, okay? Primarily uses cream products, understandably so, because it does deliver a more natural look since it blends better into the skin than a powder would. These Surratt powders though, they might do the trick. Today, for instance, I applied Halo first and then I went in with the Natasha Denona I Need a Nude Glow. I think this is perfect to layer over the Surratt. And this is also sold on Beautylish. Everything except the mascara. So sorry, I love my Pat McGrath Dark Star. On my face and what I'm mentioning will be sold on Beautylish. So you want to just, you know, take a look. Now, if you're asking what's on my eyes, I feel so silly requesting this, but I had had my eye on it ever since I got the Walk of No Shame blusher. I requested to try the Walk of No Shame Luxury palette. These shades, you know, copper, maroon, burgundy. There was something special about this palette, and I'm so sorry, I'm not a Charlotte expert, so I wouldn't be able to make extensive amount of comparisons because I don't have a lot of her luxury palettes. Although I might have her, no, I don't have her Queen of Glow, but I do have her Dreamgasm palette. The Dreamgasm palette, I feel, leans a little more warm. So this is from Dreamgasm. This is to be, I believe, the smoke shade. And the Walk of No Shame smoke shade next to it appears a little more red. So the difference is very slight. If it's not different enough, I totally get it. But out of all the palettes from Charlotte Tilbury that I own, this is the most standout comparison. And again, this is Dreamgasm. This is Walk of No Shame. You see that Dreamgasm has this gold here. It has a similar champagne shade, but Walk of No Shame, I feel, is primarily red. Copper is what I have on my eyes. And I have a little demo here to show you two ways I use the Walk of No Shame palette. I primarily applied the Enhance and Smoke shade on the lid and outer corner. Then I applied the Prime shade on the inner corner for highlight and sprinkled a little bit of the Pop shade on top and just brought the Enhance and Smoke shade around the lower lash line to complete that smoky wing look. On the other eye, I wanted to rely on my Hourglass Veil Eye Primer, which I highly recommend. Okay, I wanted to take advantage of like that bare lid look and layered on the Pop shade with my finger. Now the Pop shade is meant to be a topper, so I wouldn't rely on this shade to deliver like a strong base color, but I think it looks beautiful when it's layered over a bare lid. And then I went in with the smoke shade on the lash line and pulled a little bit of the hand shade through the crease. I believe so. I'm going based off memory here, so I could be completely off. But the two looks I ended up with, although they look very similar, you could play a lot with this palette in terms of what you put all over the lid versus just the lash line. I really appreciate this palette's curation for its very strong holiday vibe. You can't go wrong with a copper red hue type of a look, and I rather enjoy how my eyes turned out, especially when I applied the Prime shade on the inner part of my eye. This kind of contrast and gradient just looks beautiful. And while I'm here, I could also recommend the Wayne Goss Essential Liners, the kohl liners. I know these weren't popular among many who wear liners primarily in their waterline because yes, these are not designed to stay long because they are cold. They're more suitable for blending, and that's why I applied here on my lash line to give a little bit of smoke and intensity. I applied both Precious Opal as well as Rich Hazel, a combination of both. And I've been using these a lot, and these are also great for base shades. So let's say you wanted a little more something from Walk of No Shame, I will apply Precious Opal first as like that rich brown base, and then apply the shadow on top, and it's a little more intense. Yeah, it has a little more contrast. So I definitely recommend these. They're sold as a trio and individually, I believe. So if you just want one or two, you could do that, or you could get the whole 3 at once. And the last item here, I feel is something cute you could gift anyone who is a beauty lover, who loves pretty trinket types of things. And this brand in particular, I have a very special place in my heart for Anna Sui. Anna's creations for me, it's just the perfect merging of fairy tale and goth, and this is exactly what Beauty Box has to offer. Anything Victorian looking, construction, craftsmanship, I'm down with. This is so adorable. I know it's like whatever, it's made out of plastic, like big deal, Alicia. This is just something fun to have on your dresser, to have wherever, and you're like, what is it? It is a beauty box. Maybe not the most practical if you have a lot of stuff like I do, okay? You could barely put a palette in here. I like to store my sponges don't fall. I like to store my sponges and brushes, like shorter ones. This is a Ray Morris brush. I feel kind of tricky just to store upright because it's so short, so I put it in here. You got a little mirror, you know what I'm saying? Make it look real fancy. It doesn't have any magnetic closure, so you have to make sure whatever is in here is flat so it could close completely. But look at the little legs. Look at these little legs. And you have the detailing here with the roses, very typical Anna Sui. And you have the faux drawer handles and the top here with the rose design. So I've always been attracted to her little, even her powder puff holders. I remember she had a powder puff, loose powder holder. And I think I had that powder. I don't know why I got rid of it. It makes me feel so nostalgic. And a lot of her stuff sold on Beautylish has that kind of feel. A lot of the powders have the same rose design embossing on them. Maybe not the most practical, again, if you have a lot of makeup, but I think a really thoughtful gift for someone who loves to decorate, who loves, again, this fairy tale goth feel with the roses and the swirl and twirl design, that these rose motifs. And it's perfect for my sponges because I kind of just put them in whatever that could hold them. But to have them covered, I think it's a plus. So, you know, if you were thinking about that, maybe Beauty Box A will work out for you or a friend. Other items that I didn't necessarily request for my haul, but I bought myself and highly recommend are all the Sonia G brushes, face and eye. These are just like her face brushes, friends. I mean, what can I say? And here I have her eye brushes, and again, some of her face brushes, the smooth buffer that you saw in that short demo, and all of her eye brushes, including her Mini Cheek and Detail Pro and Designer Pro. I have my Chikuhodo brushes and some Koyudo brushes. This is a finishing powder brush from Koyudo. It is so like paddle-like and just whoops it on right nice if you want to loose powder just to buff in your cheek products better. And here, oh my gosh, the Chikuhodo Z8. This is what I requested from last year's haul, in addition to the Z9. Like, oh my god. These two, I just remember the minute I felt these brushes, my life was changed. My life was changed first with Wayne Goss and his Anniversary 2 set. That's when it really started. And then Sonia, she took me a little higher. I went out of orbit with the Chikuhodo Z series. And from there, I was all over the place. I was in Jupiter, I was in Saturn, I was in Neptune, Mars, all the Chikuhodo types of brushes, all the Chikuhodo lines, I adore. You saw that I love the Takumi line, the Koyudo line that is also sold on Beautylish. And my goodness, I forgot to talk about the little T12. I'm now sure you saw this in action during the Walk of No Shame demo, but I love this little brush, fam. And because it's undyed, I could use it with cream, so I used this today to smoke out my Wayne Goss kohl liner, and it is just Also, it's beautiful if you want to carve right here under the crease, if you want a little more precision there, if you want to get a deeper shade tight under the lash line to create that intensity and depth, if you want to tap down a darker shadow or liner here on the outer corner of your lash line. This is some little brush. And of course, the Wayne Goss brushes, I have a bunch of them. I have a lot of his face brushes in addition to his eye brushes. And this artist set, this little medium brush, I know the artist set is sold as one. You can't get these separately, but these are my most favorite from him. Out of all the brushes that I have from him, those are my most favorite because they're so versatile and special, and I feel you just have to experiment with what you use with them to get the best out of the collection in terms of not only cheek product, but your eyeshadow, your highlighter. Like, there's so many different textures that work well with these brushes, and I think you'll discover how multitasking they really are, even though they're just three and maybe shapes that you're not quite used to. The Natasha Denona I Need a Glow that I showed, that I applied here on top of the Surratt Halo shade. The Dewdrop that I applied with the Hourglass Vanish liquid. I have the shade Golden, and I mixed it in with the number 7 shade. If you are my complexion, however, I would get number 9 because number 9 is a little lighter. 7 has that, you know, that warmth to it. The Hourglass Airbrush Vanish Concealer, a favorite for a very long time. I use Dune to cover up a little more of my hyperpigmentation around the jawline and the mouth. Also, I took Sienna under the eye with a little bit of Dune, mixed it up to create that, you know, little brightness, but a little coverage and correcting at the same time. And on my lips today, I have the Natasha Denona I Need a Nude lipstick in Noah and Maria. Maria is from the new holiday collection. I applied Noah on the majority of my lip, put Maria on the center because Maria by itself, it's a little beige. A little too beige. So for me, I gotta mix it up and then align it all together with her liner in L5, which is like a beautiful rosewood brown type of a nude color, so it ties those two lipsticks very well together. And the Bioderma, again, not just sold on Beautylish, but they sell trios of these, and they have different types of products that maybe you can't find in your local convenience store. And if you can, great. I am so happy for you. I use this for my multi-eye look videos, and it's just like, there's nothing better than this. I do recommend that you never swipe and pull and tug. You just gently press and it gets the makeup off and it does not sting my eyes, and I could do upwards of 6 eye looks a day with that stuff. And of course, take a break the next day. Although I have pat on my upper lashes, I use the Hourglass Unlock mascara for my lower lashes. I thought this was the most successful in not transferring. Unfortunately, the pat transfers on me, but I really love how it looks on my top lashes. So for my bottom lashes, the Hourglass Unlock does not drag, does not transfer, or stays put, and really gives me a full complete eye look. And that is it, my friends. Those were my haul picks and other recommendations I just, you know, accumulated during the duration of the year. Let me know what you plan to pick up from Beautylish's gift card event, if you had your wish list on for a while, things that you changed your mind about, or you have any questions about the items, whether I presented here or you just have questions about in general. I'll be happy to help. And until then, fam, that is alright. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope this video helped. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and maybe consider subscribing to my channel. And until then, I'll see you on here again with another review, tutorial, holiday, gift card, extravaganza haul, monthly favorites, or nightly life chit chat. Take care, and I will see you again soon.